able to discuss the world's first superhero in comics, film, TV, and more. It's the Supermaniacs, and it is a very exciting time right now to be a Superman fan. We've just gotten the first full trailer, not a teaser, but a full trailer. That's how they're billing it. First full trailer to James Gunn's Superman film coming to theaters this year, July 11th, just a few weeks away. It's actually it's 53 days away. So I'm joined with Michael. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. And the fact that, it is in fact the actual first trailer is really exciting because, that means it's not the final trailer. So I'm curious to see what we'll get from here on, especially with that much time between from here to then.
And I know a lot of people, this might be a negative. This might be a complaint they had, especially that it took this long to get a full trailer. Like the movie is literally only weeks away at this point. But I'm relieved that they're not showing more plot. They're still keeping a lot of things secret. So, but
yeah, even this trailer feels like it's keeping a lot at bay.
Yeah, like typically, the way I make that distinction is that if it just kind of gives you tone, then it's more of a teaser. But if you're getting like actual plot detail, then it's more of like a full on trailer. But
that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
We get more dialogue though. We get like a little bit, I guess, better. We get an idea of the characters a bit more and some of their dynamics and relationships to each other. But yeah, we still don't know the actual chain of event. I guess they hint at a lot of things, but
yeah.
That being said, I think we can just to recap the trailer. Let's just go ahead and give it a watch. I'll press play on the trailer and we can watch/listen to it, and then we will discuss in detail. Here we go.
Are you being serious right now?
Yeah.
You'd let me interview you as Superman?
Sure.
Ready?
Let's do it, Cronkite.
Superman.
Miss Lane.
Recently, you've come under a lot of fire for what some might.
A lot of fire.
It's a lot. Today, the Secretary of Defense said he was going to look into your actions. That's funny.
My actions? I stopped a war.
Maybe.
Not maybe. I did.
In effect, you illegally entered a country.
This is how you're gonna be?
I'm not the one being interviewed, Superman. Did you consult with the president?
No.
You seemingly acting as a representative of
I
the
wasn't
United States
representing
will cause
anybody
more
except for me.
problems around the world.
And doing good.
I would question myself in the same situation and consider the consequences.
People were going to die. Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Your choices. Your actions. That's what makes you who you are.
Superman. He's not a man. He's an it. He's somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation. I will not accept that.
I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you.
have a dog?
So, just initial first reactions. I just want to ask you before we start talking about this and breaking it down. But just what was your reaction to seeing this for the first time?
The first time I saw it, I got so giddy for a number of different reasons. One is that I think it's the first time I've seen Superman be the way I want him to be in a movie in quite some time, and probably almost ever, to be honest. Like, as much as I love the Christopher Reeves films, one of my issues I've always had with Christopher Reeves, and I've told this to a few people over the years, because a lot of people will be like, Superman's perfect. He never reacts to like anything, type of thing. He's always like calm and stoic and shit and like that. I'm like, yeah, but that's like that makes sense from a Silver Age standpoint, which is the way Christopher Reeve is. Like, he is like kind of this like stoic, never really overdoes it type character. Whereas I'm like, I want him to feel like a human being. And his argument with Lois is like exactly that.
Yeah. My girlfriend Taylor actually told me when she saw the trailer, she was like, "Oh, like this argument is very realistic." So
It's a real argument
it's
because
kind of
she's trying to help him through this. Like, she's trying to like she's giving hard hitting questions, but she's trying to coach him through what he's saying. She's like, think about what you're saying here, and he's like, but I did what I'm supposed to do, and that's a great moment because it's a very human conversation. It's a human reaction to being told, look, you might have fucked up here, kind of thing, and it's great, and I loved it. And then seeing more of how like the way Lex talks about Superman is a really great moment because it's clear that he's very like, what is so fucking special about this dude type thing. He's like, why? How's he better than me? Type situation, and then seeing how the rest of the world is reacting to Superman is another. Like, there's a moment that's perfect that Man of Steel doesn't get right, as well as Superman Returns in some way, but Superman 2 does, which is Clark helping people like during fights. Like, you can tell like the keep my eyes up here type of thing, and he flies up. It's clear that he's trying to be like, don't fucking attack the buildings type thing. And then there's one thing it does that none of the other Superman movies do, which is that the citizens are helping him just as much as he's helping them.
Yeah, it very much has like that Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie kind of effect of like the city of New York has Spider-Man's back. You feel like, oh yeah, the civilians of this world. There are definitely a lot of Superman haters out there. That's kind of realistic, I guess. But there's also the fans who are on board with them and want to support what he's doing and back him up. So
that's a great moment. I must have watched this trailer like 8 times the first time it came
I
out.
have seen it a lot, and I had not watched it at all today. I was waiting until now to watch it with you, and I still got goosebumps from watching it. Was there any like one particular moment that like really got you in the emotions?
One of them is the civilian helping Superman up. It's like, it's a moment that, like I said, you don't see in anything in a lot of Superman media in general that involves the movies, because the movies were very much like, the movies put him on a higher pedestal than they should have. Like, Man of Steel is the closest one that kind of tried to not make him that high up, but it failed miserably by making him even more godlike than even the other movies did, which I think was really funny. But this movie is like, it's just right. It's like, this is the Superman I've been trying to tell people existed for years. He's a normal guy who wants to do right by everybody, and he's inspiring people around him to want to do right as well. And I think that's really great. And then there's the moment where he's that moment where he says like, hey, eyes up here. I tear up at that, because it's just like, it's so Superman to just be like, focus on me, not everything else. and I think it's just really great. There's so much I want to say about how perfect this trailer is at selling everyone. I've talked to people who I feel like don't normally talk about Superman. I'm excited for this movie because this trailer sold me more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the type of Superman movie I feel like I've been asking for at least 20 years. Like, this is what I wanted back, like when I was in high school and they were pumping out all these new X-Men movies and Spider-Man movies, and we got like a Ben Affleck Daredevil movie in there, and like the Ang Lee Hulk. I'm not saying like all that stuff was good, but it was really exciting. There were all these they were even going to bring back Batman. Christopher Nolan was going to do Batman Begins. I was like, okay, yeah, let's get like a modern Superman movie. And Bryan Singer, I think, as much as I respect a lot of the things in Superman Returns, he dropped the ball with it. The in 2012, they tried again with Man of Steel, and I know that movie has a particular fan base that really applauds it, but just you can't deny that it didn't capture the attention of the mainstream like Superman has the potential to do, like the Christopher Reeve movies did, like the George Reeves TV show did in the 50s. It's it's not that hard to make Superman popular to the mainstream.
Yeah, TV has shown that you can make Superman so popular that it affects whole institutions, essentially. Like George Reeves, of course, it was so popular, everybody looked at superheroes almost in a different way. The radio show was so popular to help take the KKK down a peg, type of thing. And the Lois and Clark show was so good that that's the reason they even got married, Lois and Clark, because that show was so incredibly popular with the general audience. They're like, oh, we should probably do what they're doing. And then Superman and Lois did a great job at exploring a lot of that stuff too. There's so many moments where the Superman has become so much more popular in mainstream when he's allowed to be an interesting character. And Superman Returns dropped the ball so hard because he's not an interesting character in that movie. And it's not even just because there's nothing going on in that movie, because that's another thing people tell you. There's nothing's going on in that movie. I'm like, there is, but the problem was him as a character isn't very interesting. The world that he's in doesn't feel as interesting as it should be. This world feels so lived in, like not just because of Superman and because of Lex and because of the citizens of Metropolis, but there's so much going on in this world already. Because that's the other thing that I like about the fact that it starts in the middle of his career, not in the beginning of his career. Was like Guy Gardner's around, Mr. Terrific's around, Hawkman's around, Metamorpho exists in this world. Like he's not just like, it's not when you're watching say you're watching Winter Soldier of Captain America and thinking, where are the rest of the Avengers type of thing. It's like, no, everybody's around. There are other heroes that are around. They don't have to be A-list heroes. Like you could watch. Like if you were watching Captain America Winter Soldier and then say like D-Man showed up in the middle of nowhere, like you would just be like, well, this world's kind of lived in. There are other
I would
heroes.
love that, actually.
They're not like A-lists, and that's what this is what this is. It's like, yeah, there are other heroes that are around that aren't A-list characters. You're not going to always see Batman show up or Wonder Woman show up, but you sure as hell will see Guy Gardner show up, type of thing. And I think that does a lot more wonders than a lot of other movies are willing to do. And the fact that it's not only a Lex Luthor movie for the most part, because there are other villains that seem to be in this trailer, especially ones that not even everybody knows about. Like the Engineer is, I don't know anything about the Engineer.
I've never read an actual Wildstorm Authority comic in my life. So
exactly, I've read hundreds and thousands of millions of comics, and I couldn't tell you jack shit about the Engineer. And I feel like he did that on purpose to be like, I know a bunch of you are going to want to speculate, but I feel like the Superman and the Wildstorm people are not overlapping. So they don't know what to do with themselves. And so I'm very excited to see what that means for it. And then I'm very excited to see what like these battles mean in the overarching plot of this world, because Superman's clearly doing everything he can. And then there's the line about the war. That's another line that I think, that's another moment that I think about a lot, because it sells something that some of the other ones don't do well enough. is selling the fact that Superman is for everybody. He's not just an American icon, but also there are repercussions for him doing something like that. Man of Steel again tried to touch on that, but never really went far enough, or at least not in a way that made sense. Especially because the only way it makes sense is if you watch BVS type of thing, and even then, or the BVS extended edition, and even then, I don't think it did it correctly. If that makes sense.
Well, let's just go through the trailer like from the beginning and just kind of like talk about it scene by scene and try to make sense of what we think we're looking at. But right off the bat, the trailer got on a great foot with me, opening with the interview because it tells us a couple of things. One, we know that Lois is in on the secret. She's obviously extremely aware that Clark Kent is Superman. And James Gunn has also talked about how they're at a point in their relationship. They've been dating for a few months. Their coworkers at the Daily Planet don't know about it yet, and they're kind of trying to decide, like, is this going to be a serious, ongoing relationship or not? So that's already kind of an interesting, like, emotional point to be with these characters.
And there's hints of it throughout the trailer here and there.
But the like the chemistry that they have so immediately and overtly in this sequence, and Gunn has also talked about this being like a 12-minute long interview conversation that's in the movie. It sounds like this is what they used as the chemistry test when they were auditioning actors. But yeah, like I totally buy the relationship between the two of them, and you also get to see David Corenswet switch from Clark Kent to Superman when they go into the interview. She's actually recording it, so he's using his Superman voice.
The way he says Miss Lane is so perfect because you hear the way he talks prior to the beginning of the interview, and he just goes Miss Lane in a very like, I want to say stoic way, but like it's hard to really explain without like really understanding the differences between probably. And we'll probably see that a lot more when we watch the movie.
David Corenswet has also talked about how trying to wrestle with the idea, is Clark Kent the real person, is Superman the real person? And I was so excited to hear his answer to that. But it's something that I think the both of us have talked about. That there's kind of three different people. There's the real guy who can just be himself in front of Lois or in front of his parents, and then there's the public superhero, which is like a bit of a performance. He's got to put on this confident, strong, reassuring face to the public. And then there's also Clark Kent, the goofy reporter at the Daily Planet that no one's going to suspect anything of. So that's the approach he's taking to playing the character.
And that's great and you see it in the scene because when he's with Lois, he's still Clark Kent, but he's very clearly like he's comfortable with being the fact that he's also Superman at that exact moment. Because we haven't seen how he talks when he's normal Clark Kent yet, if that makes sense. Like the disguised Clark Kent is the better way of putting it. So I really want to see what the differences are, because I like the fact that we are going to see all three versions of him probably in this movie.
And just a cool little detail in that early interview scene is the audio device that Lois is recording them on says Lord Tech on it. So reminding us that Maxwell Lord's company, Lord Tech, I'm guessing that in the DCU, they're going to be kind of like, they're like Apple or Google, just like a giant tech company.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
So, yeah, it's just like, like in the real world, it would be Apple or Samsung or
just like
Sony or something.
Yeah.
But
Sony probably would make sense. Yeah.
If this was a Spider-Man movie, it'd be a Sony product. They love their product placement.
Everything Sony.
But you also buy the relationship between the two of them, where she's excited. She's like, "Oh, you'll let me interview you as Superman right now," and he's trying to be real confident about it. He's like, "Oh, of course, my sweet girlfriend. I would love to do something like that for you." And she's so gung ho and giddy, and gets like the recorder out and starts with the hard hitting questions. She's not throwing him softballs. He's getting some tough questions, and immediately he's kind of like, oh hell, I bit off more than I can chew.
It's funny because it's
grilling me.
It's him being like, oh, I forgot I'm dating Lois Lane.
Yeah,
like I'm not dating like fucking Dan Rather or some shit. It's like this woman wants to know like the real questions.
And to me, it shows that she's worthy of Superman because he's like, okay, I'm gonna get in my Superman mode. I'm confident, deep voice, Miss Lane. I'm ready for the hard hitting questions, and she's like, hey, I'm Lois Lane. I'm turning into a reporter mode. I'm gonna dish out some hard hitting questions.
It's like the both of them are doing their little transformation. Like she's getting comfortable, and she's just like going from girlfriend to like, now I'm going to ask you how your life affects world politics, and he's like, oh. He's like, I thought this was just going to be like, hey, let's interview each other real quick. He's like, like even in the beginning, he looks like he's like really happy with what's about to happen, and then as it progresses, you can hear him get more frustrated with her questions.
You can see the regret in his face and hear it in his voice. I was also speaking of girlfriends. I was watching this with Taylor. She's really into movie and TV set design and production design, and so it's always fun to just talk about sets with her. She notices tons of things I don't notice, but me and her are convinced that this must be in Lois's apartment. Just there's like a lot of books. It looks like someone's lived here for a few years.
There's that frame picture behind him in that small sequence there that just looks like it says Lois on it.
Yeah. So I don't know. That kind of seems like oh yeah, typical white girl thing to have like her name on a plaque or a picture frame or something.
Yeah, like he's probably visiting her during the sequence, and which would explain why he's fine with probably having this interview, because he could just be like, "I'm just gonna leave."
Later in the trailer, when you see what we think is probably Solaris, the Sun Eater from All-Star Superman comics, flying around in the sky out the window, it looks like that's probably his apartment.
Yeah, because the window design looks like a lot different than what an apartment like this would have.
And all the furniture looks like it's a lot more modern. So it looks like, oh, instead of someone who's like lived in the city for several years, he just like moved to Metropolis a year or two ago, and it had to buy like new furniture and everything,
or it came with it or something.
But they also they talk about the war that he prevented, and they're using the fictional country Baravia, which goes way back to Golden Age Superman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it appeared in like one of the early Siegel comics, I guess.
I'm a big fan of fake countries that sort of sound like real countries.
Yeah, I mean DC's has plenty of them. Oh, the street signs, by the way, we see Mark Waid has a street named after him, and Alex Ross has a street named after him. So
yeah, Waid tweeted out about it, and I was like, "Oh."
The Kingdom Come influences are definitely there. But yeah, I loved what Waid tweeted, saying that the teenage boy who saw the first Christopher Reeve movie and knew that he wanted Superman to be part of his life, and whatever job he got, whatever career he got, he wanted it to be connected to Superman. And now seeing the trailer for this movie, he's like, well, mission accomplished. I did it. So good on him.
I love the fact that so many people so many great creators are celebrated thanks to James Gunn. It's a willingness to celebrate them.
There's an interesting transition in the trailer where they talk about the Secretary of Defense, and then it cuts to the Pentagon, and then it cuts to Rick Flag Sr. from Creature Commandos, played by Frank Grillo, right? Frank, right?
Yeah, Frank Grillo, yeah.
So I was making me think like, oh, does he become Secretary of Defense? But apparently that's not the case.
No, I think he's the leader of Argus, according to Peacemaker.
Right.
But he takes over for whatever Amanda Waller does, which would make sense why he's there to arrest Superman if that's the case. Because Argus is a big deal. It's almost like a shield kind of thing for DC.
Yeah, we see Rick Flag Sr. and the black suited figure that the merchandise is calling Ultraman, and he does have like a U on his chest, so it makes sense. Like,
I'm super curious sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I am very curious to see what his deal is, because he's clearly not an alternate reality version of him or something like that. And he's got a very he's almost got like a Doomsday type outfit, like funeral outfit look to him. Almost like with the way the goggles look.
Yeah, it's very like when Doomsday first came out of the ground in the comics, before he was revealed to be like a gray Hulk with spiky bones. He was in a suit similar to that.
Yeah, and so I'm curious what is he a clone? Is he just like an experiment in general? Like, is he just like Lex's attempt at trying to make his own branded Superman in some ways. Like I'm just absolutely fascinated by that. And then there's the engineer as well, who's with him the whole time, and we don't know what he looks like. We don't know if there's I don't even know if we know who the actor is supposed to be who's under that.
Right.
Well,
We don't. So I'm trying to think, okay, what would be the storytelling reason to put this character in a mask? And I think it will turn out to be a form of Bizarro. It's going to be a copy of Superman. It's going to be Lex's attempt to clone Superman. I'm pretty sure that that'll be like the third act fight of the movie is that Bizarro will emerge from this black suit and fight Superman.
I'm perfectly happy if that's the case, because there was one other movie that there was one other story that did something similar, which is the Red Sun story.
Right. Yeah, they had where the Lex also made a Superman clone for the U.S. government in that, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious. So it's hard not to be, but we know we're supposed to be curious, especially because it's clear that he's strong like Superman, because he slams his face down into the asphalt strongly, not like a small smack. Yeah, I like the shot of Lex though, because it looks almost like he's reacting to him getting arrested, like the news of him getting arrested.
Right. Yeah, the way that they edit that, it also kind of suggests that I saw some people get confused and think that Lex is possibly president in this movie, because after they mentioned the president, Lois says, did you get permission from the president or approval from the president, whatever the line is? Then it cuts to Lex, but he's not the president. He's just straight up. It's not even Lex Corp. It's Luthor Corp.
He's a businessman.
But he's also supposed to be the mad scientist. I've heard Gunn and Nicholas Hoult talk about his mad science is going to be very Silver Age, very almost fantastical level science.
That's why I'm expecting the Bizarro thing, because of his mad scientist streak and the fact that he wants to explore that, which none of the other ones have ever explored, at least correctly, again, because BVS sort of does, but not for very long.
The Truth 31 in our live audience says, I do feel like Gunn will head towards the storyline of Lex becoming president. And, like Smallville kind of hinted at that. I guess that's never really been done in live action. Some of the animated stuff played with that, but
I know the Infinite Crisis, or the Crisis on Infinite Earths, that the CW did confirm that Smallville Lex did become president, apparently. Because there's like a small line about it, because you're like, oh, Lex Luthor's after you. He's like, I didn't know the president was in town.
A world where an evil jerk becomes president. Who could imagine?
A smart one though.
Yeah, I mean that is the fantasy part of it.
Here's the thing: thanks to Red Sun, I probably would vote for Lex Luthor. Red Sun, they're like, people live to like 500 years old now. I'm like, maybe I might vote for Lex Luthor.
The other villain that we've heard the filmmakers talk about, the Hammer of Baravia, totally an invention of this movie. There's nothing exactly like that in the comics, though. It does look a bit like Lex Warsuit technology.
It looks like a warsuit. The fact that it's like a foreign armored guy does make me laugh, because it kind of reminds me of an Iron Man villain.
Oh yeah,
it's almost like James Gunn's just like,
yeah.
we're gonna make what the hell is his name? The Red. You know what I'm talking about? That he was the one that like
Dynamo?
Crimson Dynamo. He's like, I'm gonna make a Crimson Dynamo character in my Superman movie. Fuck you guys.
But he seems to have a Kryptonian heat vision, so I don't know if that's actually like the Bizarro Ultraman. Like maybe he's like in that armor at first. Like this is just me theory crafting, but maybe this is it's almost like a Russian doll thing. Like this is the Hammer of Baravia, and then you take this suit off, and then it's the black suit Ultraman, and then you take that suit off, and then it's Bizarro. And so it's like villain inside a villain inside a villain.
See, I would love that if that was the case. There's like whoever, because it looks like he's attacking a building itself. Like Superman doesn't seem to be in front of him during the shot.
It looks like he's attacking a corporate boardroom. There's like a big long conference table and like some presentation stuff hanging up in there.
It looks like almost like an ad agency type thing. It was like maybe there's like some ads going on here, and then And then I'm guessing the idea is that Superman shows up, and then like, I think he's probably the one he's saying, "Hey, eyes up here." He's probably trying to get his attention.
Oh, I think he might be saying eyes up here to the kaiju because it had some of the fire in there. We know that thing like breathes fire, but
Yeah,
I
that
also
would
loved
make
that
more sense.
line. I thought that line was really cool because like it also shows like that Superman confidence, but like you were saying, he's protecting civilians.
Yeah, and what I'm interested in as well is his power levels, because I've seen a lot of people be kind of annoyed with the fact that Superman does get his ass beat in these trailers a lot, like a lot. But it reminds me of the DC animated Superman, where he's like, he is the strongest being on this planet, but he's not a god at the moment. And the reason I say at the moment is because that version eventually also became very, very strong as time went on. But that version, he fights Livewire, getting electrocuted constantly, having issues against like large laser type attacks, that sort of thing. And this Clark seems to have very similar levels of invulnerability, where he's like, I'm very strong, but I'm also getting kind of fucked up, kind of thing.
Hunter Iggy in the live audience says that there's a toy of Lex in his war suit. So yeah, maybe
I just saw that one recently.
Maybe that's Lex and the Hammer of Baravia, but I think it'd be more like Lex to maybe like test out, like he's gonna send some goon out in the war suit first before it, in like the prototype, and then after he like fine tunes the design, then he's gonna have the ideal version for him to wear.
Yeah, have you seen that figure yet?
I haven't.
It's a 4-pack of some kind that has Superman, Metamorpho, I think the Engineer, and then Lex in what looks like a kind of like his green. Like, it's hard. Like, it looks almost like a sleeker version of what his green war suit would be. And then it comes with like 2 little accessories. One is Crypto, and the other one I don't know if we're ready to talk about yet. But it seems to be this like container that you're supposed to put liquid in or something, or make it look like there's liquid in it. That's almost like a stasis, if that makes sense.
Okay, I guess I'll have
like
to
it sort of it hints at the idea of probably what happens after this specific scene, type of thing.
We see Lex in the fortress along with the engineer. So now we know how those fortress robots get torn up in the teaser trailer. There's such a cool shot, by the way, of right here of the engineer cutting up these robots and Lex just very calmly like walking past all this destruction and explosions.
Yeah, he never once is just like looks back at her as she's destroying these things. And there's a small shot of Ultraman in the background beating the shit out of one.
You also see Miss Tessmacher in like her parka and like her winter wear. So it's extremely Superman 2 vibes. This is very much like Gene Hackman coming in. Well, and Kevin Spacey took his girlfriend to the fortress too. So
he did.
It's a tradition at this point.
Every Lex Luthor takes their girlfriends on dates to the Fortress of Solitude for some reason.
But we don't know much about this movie's version of Miss Tessmacher.
No, we don't. We really don't. And we don't really know how she fits into his life either. Because that's the thing about the Miss Tessmacher, even any of them, is that it's clear that, or not Miss Talkers, because it's not Miss Tessmacher in Superman Returns, but any of the girlfriends that he has throughout the movies, they're always like clearly not as even close to as smart as he is. He just seems to like the idea of being superior to everyone around him.
I feel sorry for the woman who plays the engineer in this movie because she has to beat up Crypto, and I think everyone's going to be mad at her for like, why did you punch the dog?
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I was watching the trailer and my girlfriend was just like, swear to God, if they kill that dog, I'm like, look, I'm just gonna say this: they're not gonna kill the dog, but
no way, yeah,
they're gonna beat up that dog, and that's gonna hurt just as much.
I'm kind of hoping that Lex will be the meanest one. Like, I hope but yeah, I kind of don't want to see it. Like, I don't want to see him like beat up a dog with kryptonite or something like that. But
And he clearly like rips something off of her face, like there in that shot.
yeah, so Crypto can hold his own, but I like the idea of Crypto guarding the fortress. That's a pretty frequent depiction of him in the comics, So
Yeah. And I'm very curious to see like how big the fortress looks overall. Because the funny thing about even Lex walking into this fortress, it still looks kind of small. Like the
yeah, it
entrance
looks
is just like
huge
right
from the
behind them.
outside. Yeah,
Yeah, the
it
entrance is
definitely.
just like it looks like my house. Kind
It's
of like
like
big.
it's the opposite of a TARDIS. Like it's smaller on the inside than it looks on the outside.
It's
It's like
very funny
the
in that
opposite of
way.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, and there's that same shot of him breaking out of what's clearly like a series of like jails.
Right. So my assumption is that because of whatever events, maybe Superman interfering in a foreign country, maybe a kaiju taking out a bunch of skyscrapers in downtown Metropolis, but there's going to be a meta-human backlash, and Lex has a government contract to contain metahumans, is what I'm predicting.
Yeah.
I've also heard people speculate that there might be some pocket dimension stuff, like which we did see James Gunn use in Peacemaker season 1. Peacemaker's dad had that pocket dimension.
That's true. Yeah, and James Gunn is very much taking what he's already built before and expanding on it, and then expanding and then even on that. Because at this point, the Peacemaker season 2 trailer has already come out, and there's already elements from the trailers here that are clearly part of it. With Rick Flag Sr., Maxwell Lord, as well as his justice team. We don't know what they're called still. People are still speculating the Justice Gang thing, which I think is kind of funny. So I'm curious to see like how much of this overlaps into Peacemaker, because that's not something I ever thought was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm just gonna refer to them as the Justice Gang till I'm told that's wrong, which I don't super love that name, but I get it. You don't want there to be a Justice League yet.
The reason I think it's wrong is because people are like, it's JG. They made him his initials. He's like, that's not my initials though. Like he says it just looks like a normal corporate logo of some kind. Like I think it's supposed to be something else. So that's why I don't think it's Justice Gang, because that would just be too on the nose, I feel.
But the same way I'm talking about how the Lord Tech company is going to be like this big tech company, I guess. It's kind of like how that's such like a real experience, like in our modern life. You can't do anything without using some corporate product. Like right now, like we're making content for YouTube owned by Google, or for like Spotify, like these tech companies. So like, of course, if you lived in a superhero universe, there would be this kind of a corporate commodification of superheroes, and you'd have like these corporate sponsored super teams. I think that's such a fun story to tell these days. And also, if you're James Gunn and you're like, oh, I want to tell this story about a guy who does good, but I have to tell it through like this big corporate machine ran by David Zaslav with Discovery Warner, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like how can you still have those pure values, come shine true?
Like I wouldn't be surprised if most of the product placements cuts to Gar Gardner being like Pepsi. Like that would just be really funny. Like it'd be a fun way of doing product placement in a Superman movie without it being Superman. Like there's not a moment, because that's one of the things I know that threw people off a lot in Man of Steel, was being like there's IHOP, there's Sears, there's all of these, like just like every left and right there was like a new product placement.
I actually I showed Taylor Man of Steel last night, and she commented on the amount of product placement.
Oh yeah, it's a game me and my brother play sometimes where we're just like spot the product placement, and we're like, oh my god, this Man of Steel is just like swarming with them. And normally you would think you would be fine with that, because it's like, oh, it's like a real world. It's like, yeah, but like Sears.
Yeah. I mean, I get like, Smallville having an IHOP, but then like, okay, they go from fighting in the IHOP to fighting in front of Sears, and it's like, it's a little heavy handed after a while.
Honestly, the IHOP is the most believable thing about being like, especially a busy IHOP. Like that's the most like a small town having that is the most believable thing about that entire movie.
Well, you mentioned Guy Gardner a second ago. Speaking of Guy, the scene of what we think is Solaris, the Sun Eater, doing stuff up in the Metropolis skyline outside the window as Lois hugs Superman. It looks like there's a lot of green light, like Guy Gardner is out there fighting this thing, and we'd seen that in stuff before. But this apartment, I think, is clearly Clark's because there's nothing in there. There's like a TV and a chair. It's like, okay, that looks more like a man's apartment. That's kind of like the
Yeah,
stereotypical thing, but
it
it's all
almost
like
doesn't look lived in kind of thing.
right. It's like new modern furniture because, like, to him, like home is still back on the farm, and this is just he just moved into the city like a year or two ago, and this is just like he had to go to IKEA and buy a bunch of new stuff, so that's why it looks like that.
Yeah, it's really fun that way. And then there's more, and it's clear that in the background, Guy Gardner most likely is the one fighting whatever is going on back there, because you see like this sort of bubble, for a green bubble going
Yeah,
around it.
or like a green net or something.
And it finally answers the question of like, why doesn't Superman just go and help right away? It's because other people are already working on it, and he's like probably not there yet, type of thing. He's
I'm
probably having a
curious
very
about
big
this scene.
existential crisis at this moment, type of thing.
Wouldn't it be funny if it plays out like I'm sure Guy Gardner is going to be more of a jerk early on in the movie, but Superman's such a good dude that he'll bring out the best in Guy, and by the end of the movie, they'll get along better. And maybe there's like this moment where like he just really has to talk to Lois about something or address something with Lois, and Guy is just like, "All right, bro, I'll buy you some time. Go talk to your girl. I'll handle this." And so Guy is like out here like getting his ass kicked trying to fight Solaris until Superman can wrap up his business with Lois and then come finish it off or something like that.
Oh yeah, I'm really curious to what the series of events are for this moment. Like maybe he's not even, like maybe he just came back from it feeling like he's not needed, or maybe he is needed and he's just Lois is there to help him understand that, or that sort of thing. And I like the fact that you can be like, where are the other heroes? Like, well, they're back there trying to fight whatever's going on over there.
I've also heard speculation that this might be like the final scene of the movie and that it ends with like whatever the main threat has been dealt with, and then it just ends with like, oh, Solaris is attacking. Okay, let's go fight that thing, and you cut
I
to
wouldn't
credits.
be surprised. It would bum me out because I don't want another fucking Amazing Spider-Man 2 last shot. Because God, that still pisses
Oh
me
yeah,
off
with the
thinking about it.
Rhino, it'd be the same thing, I guess.
Yeah, so I'd rather that not be the case. But if it does, at least make the rest of the movie be really great. But let's talk about the Kents.
Yeah, the Smallville stuff. Flashback to little Clark for a little bit, and we get more of that conversation with Jonathan Kent. He's telling him things like, what you do, your actions, those are the things that defined you. I like this so much more than like, it's okay to like not be a hero. Maybe you shouldn't save anyone.
You don't know the world anything, Clark. Also, you should let those kids drown. You're like, yeah, you guys are like both Paul and Ma were both like in the Snyderverse are like, you guys are telling me I should just give up. That was the funniest thing about both of them. They're like, but seeing Paul talking to Clark made me so happy because I realized this wasn't a flashback scene. There was so much of us that were thinking this is a flashback scene, right? Like he's probably long dead or something. Because every Superman movie has had a dead Ma and Pa. The only times he's ever survived is in the cartoons. That's it. And I think it's like 2 or 3 and Lois and Clark, and I think that's it. I think those are the only 3 times I can figure out when Pa Kent was alive at the same time. But then there's the shot of him and his mom when he says, I'll get your boots, and you can clearly see that Jonathan's in the background, and I immediately was like, it's everything I've ever wanted.
And we were worried about Martha maybe being the dead one because we hadn't seen her in any trailers or anything until this. So I was worried like, oh, are they going to flip it around and make Martha die instead of Jonathan, which would be kind of a neat idea to explore. But I'm so hyped to have that John Byrne style, that Estaz style, the Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman style No, his parents are going to be active figures in his life that, when the going gets tough, he can fly home, sit down at the kitchen table, have a cup of coffee with Ma and Pa, and talk about things with them. I love that.
I love that shot too of Lois watching over the Kents. Like he's clearly like kryptonite poison because he's got some green going on his neck.
Or after a fight with Ultraman or something, or maybe both.
And this is the reason why I'm like, oh, this is definitely like a newer relationship because she's probably never seen this. Like
This
she's
is
probably
probably-
never been the first,
her
probably the first
meeting
time she
them.
ever met them,
Right.
kind of thing. And now she's watching her boyfriend's parents just be like, there, you're okay, type of thing.
And it's so humanizes
really
them.
nice. Yeah, and then it shows the fact that as much as the Fortress of Solitude is like, it's the home of Superman, it's like Smallville is the home of Clark Kent.
Oh, this is his home. The those red and blue plaid bed sheets that he has on his little twin bed, like those are either the exact same or extremely similar to my childhood bed sheets. So I was like,
I
oh
just
yeah, it's...
noticed the goddamn alarm clock.
Oh, it's like an old 80s clock radio.
It's those fucking alarm clocks that everyone I know had. I had one. The only reason I don't have it is because I think mine broke because it used to be my dad's. And it's that exact same goddamn alarm clock.
I have that same clock too that I used until a few years ago. My ex really hated it because it had that very angry alarm, but it's what I was used to waking up to.
I said it used the radio, so the radio would come on whenever the alarm went off. Because the actual alarm itself was like angry. But it was like, it was 50-50 on what was going to be on the radio when it came on. Either it was going to be like a song you liked or some garbage or the announcer type of thing. But yeah, no, everyone has owned that alarm clock at some point, and I've never felt closer to Superman in my life.
Yeah, this is like the most relatable Superman I've ever seen in live action, just judging by the visuals.
There's that shot of the what's probably Metamorpho doing a kryptonite.
Yeah, so but it also looks like Metamorpho in confinement along with this woman in a dress over here who Sapphire Stag, Sapphire, right, is her first name. I think that's Metamorpho's
that's his
wife / love interest from the comics.
Yeah, I think the idea is that like this either is a prison or this is a private like Lex Luthor thing.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a Lex thing because like the guards, I think they're like decked out in Lex technology. It'll be kind of precursors to the war suit, the big green war suit that he will eventually don at some point.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see like who are the other people there.
It's a big prison.
It's huge, and they're all one on top of each other because this isn't like a normal prison. Which is the reason why it's like, it has to be something Lex Luthor related. And the only reason their toilet's in there is because he's like, well, I don't want to have to clean that shit up.
But yeah, it would make sense that Lex would blackmail Metamorpho or use his family against him or something like that in order
to Luthor core symbol on their chest.
Yeah, they're totally okay. So I'm definitely right about that then.
That's most likely a precursor to his war suit then.
Yeah, and he's doing like contract work for the government to contain metahumans.
Yeah, there's a lot of shots here that I'm like curious, like this one here with all the debris that I'm curious about.
Yeah, it's probably from the kaiju fight, but Superman emerging from like the big dust cloud, like maybe like a building just came down.
Yeah, and then I keep loving the shots of Lex because he looks so like, man, fuck this guy.
I'm really curious about Nicholas Holt's Superman. His Lex seems very familiar in the comics. Him saying things like Superman. He's not a man, he's an it, and like things like this. Those are things I've heard a lot of depictions of Lex Luthor, say dialogue like that. So I'm curious what will be kind of the unique spin on this version of the character.
Yeah, because the movie versions we've all gotten, they've had very different thoughts prior. Like Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor never really hated Superman. In fact, he kind of respected Superman in a way. He just sort of hated the fact that he stopped him whenever he wanted to do something. Whereas Jesse Eisenberg Lex was obsessed with the myth of God, like an almighty good being who's a god, basically. Like he was obsessed with that idea, and it was never like he's not a man so much or an it. He was like, no, he's a god, and I'm going to kill God, type of thing. Whereas, no, this one is just like he's got that xenophobia that like all the other Lexes are kind of missing.
Yeah. A guy helping the government go after this illegal alien. Again, don't have to try too hard to read the real world social commentaries into this story.
He also like it's clear that he also hates the fact that everybody's paying attention to Superman.
Yeah.
He's like he seems to be taking over the discussion that everybody wants to talk about is Superman. He's like, what about me? I'm Lex fucking Luthor.
Yeah. Well,
I'm curious about that shot though. Did you notice that when he's fighting the engineer, that Mr. Terrific,
the baseball field, yeah,
down for the count.
And we know Ultraman's in that fight too. We've seen Ultraman and Superman fight in that baseball stadium. So
also, I'd be terrified if I was Mr. Terrific on that chair.
I like Mr. Terrific's kind of a like hover chair technology. I'm excited to see him, and he looks like of all of these heroes, he's the one who's going to be the most supportive of Superman, or the one who he's the first one to kind of partner up with him. But yeah, Mr. Terrific gets his ass kicked in that baseball stadium, it looks like.
Yeah, because he's just I didn't really pay attention to it the last time, but he's just knocked out right behind the engineer.
Yeah, you
he's,
see
like,
that
throwing a bunch of stuff at him.
That shot of him kind of just chilling in the air, just kind of casually hovering with a Hawk Girl and Guy Gardner. And then the next thing you see of him, he's in the baseball stadium, laid out, decked out on the ground, like the engineer just knocked him out and broke his.
Yeah, his hover chair is like
stuff.
clearly like there and it's just completely destroyed. Also, did you notice that the texture of the S on his cape seems to vary?
I didn't notice, but I know there's a lot of speculation that we might get a different Superman suit by the end of the movie. Hunter,
because somebody online made me notice it.
Yeah, I definitely noticed it there though, in the shots we see of the cape in the baseball stadium.
Like there's more, like it feels more like a 3D indentation in the S than just like a flat color, if that makes sense.
I like that though.
Oh, he's saying there's a new suit for Hunter Iggy saying there might be a new suit in the dust cloud scene.
Yeah, it's hard to make out the details there, but
yeah, that's a speculation I've heard as well, that it might be the same. It might be the what's what I'm looking for? The idea that like maybe his suit, maybe he makes a new one right after he gets his ass beat or something, and then comes out with like the normal, like the more normal one. Like, cause my main issue always comes down to the collar. The rumor is that people are hoping that like maybe the next time it shows up, he doesn't have the collar type situation.
I'm not a fan of the like. I love most everything about the suit, but if I had to change anything, I would lower the collar and I would get rid of the Jim Lee New 52 lines that are on it.
Yeah, the collar and the lines are such a New 52 thing. And like I like the fact that he has the shirts and everything, but the collar is just, there's something off about the collar, but at the same time it still looks like an outfit that a person could wear that's not full-blown tights, I guess.
But there's no way you could wear this like under your Daily Planet suit and tie and like not have like that collar like like show up around your neck.
That was the thing that everybody was speculating. I'm like, how does he hide the collar in that?
Yeah, how's he gonna change from? That's another thing I'd be curious to see. How in this movie does he change from Clark Kent to Superman?
Because it made sense in the New 52, because the New 52 was like a nano suit, like the way it is in fucking Spider-Man Unlimited, that kind of thing. Like it's like the S is there, but what it does is it forms the suit around him, kind of thing. So that makes sense why you can hide a collar while wearing a suit, type of thing, or just clothes in general. Where it's like, this is clearly not that. I love seeing an angry Lex Luthor. It gives me joy.
Yeah, he's definitely pretty angry in this trailer. Like the shot of him screaming into the camera. He's almost channeling again, I just watched Man of Steel last night, so I'm thinking of Michael Shannon right?
Yeah.
The Zod actor. I'm thinking of that's an angry performance, but
Oh, you know what makes me laugh? I feel like maybe Nicholas Hoult is channeling the fact that he has not gotten superhero roles more, no matter how many times he auditioned for them.
yeah, he auditioned. He was on the short list to play Superman.
Yeah, same for Batman. He was on the short list for Batman apparently too at some point. And the only one he ever got was Beast in the X-Men movies.
And now he's been replaced by they've gone back to Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, and so like so I remember people speculating like maybe he got Lex Luthor just to be like, I'm gonna fucking kill that guy.
But, I mean, that's if he can channel that and play this character who is supposed to be so driven by envy against
It would
Superman.
be so fun. It would be so fun if you could do that because it would just like it's coming from a personal personal place. It would be really funny.
And I've heard Nicholas Hoult say in interviews that he really enjoys this character and he looks forward to playing him in a bunch of movies and DCU stuff going forward. So
I hope everybody who gets to be in these movies really has a great time. Because my issue with a lot of superhero stuff lately is it feels like the actors stopped having fun. And I want the actors to also have fun because there are plenty of times where these people would do these movies and they're like, I'm doing this again, type of thing, and it shows in some of their performances. But every time there's a James Gunn movie or something that involves James Gunn, every actor comes to that thing being like, I'll work with that guy again in a heartbeat. Even the guy, even Dave Bautista, as much as he's like, I'm done with Drax and how Marvel kind of treated that character, sort of things like, but I'll work with James again, like immediately if he asked me to, type of thing.
Yeah, I would love to see Batista in the DCU at some point.
He should just be Doctor Hugo Strange. He should do it so bad. He's got that great beard look whenever he does that.
The dialogue we get from Martha Kent, the first thing we've heard from her in any of these trailers, I cleaned your boots for you. I cleaned your boots. I'll go get them for you. That was my favorite moment in the trailer. Like when it saw that, like that was the moment that made me cry.
It's such a mother thing to do.
It is, and honestly, like it made me think of my mom and miss my mom. Just like as a dude who grew up like wearing boots a lot. Like sometimes, yeah, like my mom would clean my boots, and she had a similar she had like that same like haircut, but like same like short hair. So I was like, it seemed like so motherly to me.
Yeah, no, my mom has that haircut now and has worn an outfit very similar to what she's wearing, and so it makes you speculate. Like, did she make this outfit? Did she not? Like, and even then, like, she's doing exactly what a mom would do. He showed up, fucked up, and she cleaned his outfit. She probably ironed it and everything.
Yeah. That's like I love the casting for this Jonathan and Martha Kent. Like when they first announced James Gunn was going to make a Superman movie, my immediate thought was like, oh, I guess is it going to be Kurt Russell as Jonathan Kent? I thought he would go with like kind of his typical Hollywood actors, but
like name brand actors. And the reason I say name brand is because I'm not saying these people are like, D-list or something. It's just that they're more unknown than, like, even though I've heard that the dad has been in quite a few things.
Yeah.
But they're not Kevin Costner. It's not fucking
Diane Lane.
It's not the way, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was, where you got Martin Sheen and oh god, what is her name? Mary, I don't remember. I forgot her name, but she was very famous. But they're all like very famous, like older people. Like Sam Raimi did a decent job. Like their people were older and sort of somewhat famous, some of them, but not like the same way. But these two, you're like, these people just feel like real people, and I think it sells more of like I'm not constantly pulled out of the fact that I'm looking at fucking Waterworld man type of thing. Like, no, these are his parents, normal people.
They're not like Hollywood gorgeous. They just look like very normal salt of the earth people that would live on a farm in rural Kansas in this little double wide house with the wood panel walls in the bedroom.
That's the other thing I like about it, is that he decided not to be like this giant fucking farmhouse, because in this day and age, farmers like that wouldn't have that normally. Like a lot of farmers I know have the double wides at most. Some of them have houses, but they're like they're closer to the houses that we see out here that are just one story and like a few bedrooms type of thing.
Yeah, it's not the romanticized Norman Rockwell farmhouse. And I had never heard of Pruitt Taylor Vince or Neva Howell before, but I think it was like a really cool choice just to get like the most like normal looking, just like, yeah, this would be like a working class family in rural Kansas.
Yeah, like you feel like if you like me and you feel like if we drove down into like the more rural areas of our surrounding area,
Yeah,
we would run into them somewhere, like
right.
at a tractor supply or something.
Exactly. I guess
I love this shot here of Guy Gardner like bitch slapping a truck.
yeah, this is so like meme worthy, gif worthy. Just anytime you want to like smack away some haters, this is gonna be like the go-to gif.
I've seen some memes for it already, but what I like about the shot though is it shows that the rest of the heroes probably show up after Superman stops whatever was going on, and that they probably join him at some point.
Yeah, and we've seen Mr. Terrific running around in the desert around the army soldiers and stuff before too. But yeah, I'm excited to see Green Lantern constructs. I'm also a big Green Lantern fan, so just whatever we get of Green Lantern on the big screen, I'm gonna eat up as well.
That's the best thing about Guy Gardner being there is that it's feeding a portion of the fandom that has sort of been starved for a while.
We're getting a preview for the Lantern show that comes out on it's back to HBO Max, by the way. Not
really?
Max, but HBO Max. Yeah, they changed
that,
back to HBO Max. So
no, yeah, that I did hear about because everybody's been making fun of it, including themselves.
But the the show Lanterns coming next year, which I'm not totally sold on, because the idea of doing like it's going to be True Detective but with Green Lanterns, that sounds a little maybe like too dark and gritty for what I would want, but I'm curious.
It's hard to tell because of the fact that Green Lantern being space cops in general makes that sort of idea work, but in the world of DC that we're being built up to right now, like, should we go that dark? Because I know, like, look, Peacemaker is a dark series, but it's goofy as shit, and it knows it.
It has a lot of heart.
Like, exactly. So will Lanterns just be like a random serious series in the middle of all that?
But I know it's also going to have a lot of cosmic stuff in it, because I've heard like some of the actors on that show talk about like, like the Guardians and the Sinestro Corps. And like, it's like, oh man, they're doing like, even though it's set on Earth, they're doing some big cosmic stuff as well. But there's a shot in the trailer of Clark Kent just kind of goofing off with Jimmy Olsen. It looks like
that's a fun moment. And
what exactly is going on, but
there's like a framed picture of Jimmy with some people and back there. I wish I knew who they were in that spot, but it's clear that him and Jimmy have like a good relationship, and he's probably not just a photographer. He probably has more going on.
Yeah, like we've never had a live action, or it's not like a movie level Clark Kent Jimmy Olsen friendship,
Yeah. Also, I just noticed the pictures behind Clark in that sequence.
Okay, there's a lot of Superman stuff. There's like a little Superman doll on the bulletin board. Jimmy has a Superman picture at his desk.
Yeah, you can't really tell, but the way the cape is on that picture on the very, very bottom looks kind of like the Jim Lee pose one.
Okay, I can see
that one
it.
right there. Yeah, because it looks like that one where he's standing on top of the building with the cape going that way type of thing. I bet you that's probably what that image is, just probably Easter egg like, because it's a very famous Superman image. There's a Batman one of it too, if people don't know, but it's a very famous one.
I'm excited to see this Daily Planet stuff, though. It seems like a pretty well realized kind of office environment with a lot of personalities.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Clark has a different style set of glasses this time instead of just the thick, ones that we're used to in the movies.
Yeah. The The woman that we see taking a selfie in front of the destruction that the hammer of Baravia's dishing out behind her. I thought this was Cat Grant at first, but I guess this is Eve Tessmacher.
Yeah, that was the thing. Everybody was saying it was Cat, but I'm like, I could have sworn Cat had like a very white hair because I remember that was in the image in the teaser trailer that I could have sworn she looked different. But if that's Miss Tessmacher, that makes even way more sense that she'd be doing that. She definitely feels like she's not in danger. She's probably inside the Lex building right now.
Sarah Sampaio as Eve Tessmacher.
A lot of people have been weird about this. Like, who would do that? I'm like, everyone would do that. I would do that.
But it makes more sense that, Cat Grant, I want Cat Grant to be kind of a good guy. I want her to be like kind of like concerned if there's like destruction and stuff. Michaela Hoover, that's the Cat Grant actress's name. But yeah, this is going to be Miss Tessmacher. So there's also speculation, I guess maybe because of this shot, but she might be like an internet influencer, like Lex has like an Instagram model as a girlfriend or something like that.
It would be fun because maybe he's doing it as a way of trying to get attention on himself.
Right.
Maybe he's just like, this is too much Superman. Like, I want you to film me doing these things.
And control the narrative, like talk about like why Superman is terrible, but like this corporate genius scientist Lex Luthor is God's gift to the world.
Like there's a theory right now that that one of the reasons everybody hates Superman, I don't know if it's a leak or if it's not, there's the idea that maybe that Lex has like a troll farm of people just writing shitty things about Superman on it.
Oh my god, that would be such a brilliant type of a real world commentary to put in there, because unfortunately there are a lot of artificial accounts talking of just bots out there just trash talking anything Superman related.
I love the shot though of him just staring down Clark while sipping his mug. Because it's clear that like that shot of the desk flying is right before that, and he's just like, "Do something, bitch."
Yeah, I like a confident Luthor. Like Lex is a guy who will stand up to Dark Side, Superman, Amazo, whoever, and talk shit to him.
Yeah, he'll stare down anybody, and I'm absolutely curious to see like there's so many shots in this I want to know about. Like this shot right here that's so quick, it's like a blink if you miss it. Of Mr. Terrific and Lois like slowly walking out of a tube of something.
Yeah, is this a maybe like pocket dimension jailbreak? They're gonna go rescue Superman and Metamorpho, maybe.
Yeah, that's what it might be, because there's a lot of squares in the back that are possibly those like jails, maybe. But I don't know. Like I'm so fascinated by this movie because it's the first time in a long time I've watched anything superhero related where I just generally don't know what it is that they're doing. Because so many of these Marvel ones nowadays are like, we're adapting so and so thing, and then everybody and their grandma knows what it's about, and then their marketing throws every twist and turn outside of it. Like that, like if you guys watch the Brave New World, it's clear Red Hulk is supposed to be like a third act twist, but marketing was so like, let's sell it around Red Hulk so badly. Red Hulk's part of a Tide ad. It's like it would have been it's like impossible to get away from it. Like even if you wanted to watch that movie without spoilers, you're gonna end up watching YouTube and Tide's just like, here, it's a Red Hulk. It's like, well, fuck, dude. The poster is like everything. So it's the first time in a long time I've watched a series of trailers where I'm like, I generally don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I know that we're still probably going to get one more trailer. They're going to do like that final trailer when we get to the 2 or 3 weeks before the movie comes out. And I'm hoping that even in that, they still hold back a lot of the plot details.
What cracks me up about this final shot, it's clear he just got punched to the ground. But it's like this, but it's so quick, it makes it almost like feel like a hopeful thing. They're like, yeah, he's up in there, and he just gets bitch slapped back down to the ground like seconds later.
Yeah, that is kind of an interesting note to end on towards the end of the trailer. But the absolute final thing we see is Lois asking Clark about his dog, and then we see it cuts from Lois in what I believe is Clark's apartment, the kind of minimalist modern apartment, and then we see Superman as just a boy chilling in his childhood bedroom with his dog laying on him.
What I like about that scene, besides the fact that every person has had a moment where their dog kind of wakes up with them laid down on them in some way, is that that it's clear that Superman doesn't really let people know about crypto. Like, because the fact that Lois, the person who knows him very well,
Yeah.
asks, "You have a dog?" with a question mark, means that Clark has probably kept crypto either at home or near the fortress this whole time to keep people from finding out about him.
Which would make sense. As a super-powered dog, you wouldn't want him in your Metropolis apartment. You'd want him either, out in the country with mom and pa, or up guarding the fortress up in the Arctic.
Yeah, like I think that's interesting to me because it means that he's probably still training him to be like not too crazy.
But James Gunn has also talked about his dog that he rescued recently, which I can relate to as a dog who's a bit bad behaved, but
Same, yeah.
But that had a big influence on the story and even the design of crypto, which is 100% CGI. All of these crypto shots are CGI, but they look really good.
Yeah, they all look really, really good. And then this poster on the back for
Mighty Crab Joys.
For people who don't know, there's a in Creature Commandos at one point, Frankenstein has a shirt that says that on there.
So this is a fictional punk rock band, I guess, that exists inside of the DCU, and I really like that. Like, to me, as someone who grew up with Marvel and DC comics, Marvel is always more real world. DC is always more, things are like in Marvel, I want them to drink Coke and Pepsi. In DC, they drink soda. I think like the pop culture in DC should kind of skew more like, oh yeah, we're gonna make up like our famous like actors and bands and stuff like that. Whereas like Marvel is, you just pull like whatever's the real world equivalent.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of the fact that DC is a fantastical world. Like if we got teleported to Metropolis right now, we would have a hard time figuring out any of it. It would be like, oh, like the only thing we would immediately be like, let's go to the Big Belly Burger because every fucking DC universe has a Big Belly Burger, and I would like to try it. But we would be confused by like other things. Somebody would be like, "You love the Mighty Crab Joys?" I'm like, "The what? I don't know what the hell are you talking about?" Or like the Gotham, whatever the fuck the name of their football team is. Sometimes it's Gotham Knights or Gotham whatever's,
and we have
or the Metropolis Mets or some shit.
Yeah, the Metros, I think. Speaking of sports mascots and made up DC locations, we see a banner in Clark's bedroom for the Smallville Giants. So their high school mascot is the Giants instead of the Crows, like on Smallville and a lot of other stuff.
I like that though, because honestly, the Crows was always a very weird mascot.
But Giants make sense for like a town named Smallville. You're like, even though we're called Smallville, we're going to name ourselves the Giants. I kind of love that attitude.
It almost feels like a way of being like, we may be small, but we're gigantic type of thing. And it's like you said, and that's so much more of a hometown really getting behind their teams type of thing.
And again, like I love his little bed. I'm trying to find a picture of my bedroom when I was a kid because I either had those exact same bed sheets or something that was like damn near close. If I can find that picture, I'll show it. But it kind of freaked me out how kind of like triggered memories. I forgot about those sheets until I watched this trailer.
Yeah, I had something somewhat similar. Not those exact ones, but they were more of like a green color type thing. But yeah, seeing that room. It reminds me of some rooms, I saw growing up. Like my grandfather had a room that had this sort of like wall, or the wooden panel.
Yeah,
walls
the wood panel walls. Yeah, my grandparents had this.
Two lamps right next to each other for some reason. That kind of look, and it looks like it's not a really gigantic room either. Is the other thing I really like about it. Like it's clear this bed's probably like a full size, probably at most.
Yeah, it's very very modest, like everything we see about the Kents. So I'm a big fan of all of that. We have a question in the live audience, but before we answer that, I just want to ask you, like, is there anything else you want to say about the trailer?
The only thing I'll say again, as I brought this up, is that everyone I know is very excited about this movie. People who I know who don't really love Superman normally are very excited. People I know who do love Superman are very excited, and people I know who are just know Superman in passing are very excited, which is a fantastic feeling. Like it feels like the precursor of pop culture taking a turn back into Superman's corner, and I'm very excited for that.
Well, Hunter Iggy is asking us who we would cast for a live action live wire, or I think he means instead of he says maximum, but I think he means Maxima.
Yeah, I think that's just an autocorrect that most likely is happening for it.
So live wire and Maxima in the DCU. I hadn't thought of those, but they're characters I would like to see in live action soon.
The problem I've always had with live action live wire is that they've used in the past is none of them have been bombastically energetic the same way, because the person they cast originally as live wire is very famous for being that very spunky actress. Most people know her from Tank Girl.
Yeah,
Um,
Leslie Willis.
yes, and she is phenomenal. She's the reason Livewire is remembered the way she is now. So I would need to make sure that she is an actress who can get that bombastic, really fun feeling that I feel like has been missing from the live action Livewires we've gotten since then. Because I know Supergirl had one at one point, and I feel like it wasn't all that interesting type of thing. As much as I like, Livewire being there. Plus, I would like to make sure it's, somebody with that can get that sort of spiky haircut that she had.
Yeah, I would love to see a modern Livewire, but instead of being a, she was kind of created to be a Howard Stern type of shock jock. Instead, like do someone who's like a streamer, like a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, you could easily get somebody who's like, a shock streamer, or somebody who's almost like Screwball, who's just like fucking with people type of thing. The problem is I don't know the names of a lot of younger actresses at the moment.
Right.
Or else I would like speculate.
I misspoke. Lori Petty is the name of the actor who played
Leslie Willis is the name of the character.
Right. So
Yeah,
I got it confused. They both begin with the L, so sorry about
Yeah.
that. But I'll tell you what, Hunter Iggy, how about we do that as homework, and on our next show we will say who our fan casting would be for Livewire, as well as Maxima.
I would like Sydney Sweeney to be Maxima.
That's who I was going to use. I'll come up with another one.
I was like, fuck it. I was just like, because I'm looking at actresses and I'm like, actually, I know that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm like, who's popular and conventionally hot and is an actor that would be in a big blockbuster like this. But I'll think of someone else. But
the main thing is I would need somebody like because the thing about Leslie is she always felt like she was like a younger, early 20-somethings who was just like kind of crazy. Like Haley Steinfeld probably would make a good Livewire.
I can see it. I'll come up with something before our next show, which we're working our way through the previous already existing Superman movies, counting down to this film releasing, and we have one final Christopher Reeve movie to discuss.
Yes, and it's a doozy.
But it's also one that you and I both happen to have a certain fondness of.
I have a huge fondness, and I have a shit ton to say about it. Like so much to say about Superman 4.
Yeah, I'm excited because it's the first Superman movie we're going to talk about that actually came out in my lifetime. So it feels like we're getting more into the modern years of the character.
Yeah,
even
we're
though
getting there.
1987. So
absolute insanity, that movie, but goddamn. But we'll talk about that when we get to it.
It'll be a fun conversation. Anything else you want to say before we close off?
Just keep an eye out for your Superman comics to come out every month. I know that the newest Action Comics just came out. Same with I think there's one gigantic storyline going on within World's Finest Justice League. So those you can read as well. It's this Grodd story that involves because he got some of Martian Manhunter's telepathic power on top of his. So it makes it for a very interesting story so far.
Right on. Yeah. Speaking of the Mark Waid and his work, but just some of the comics out now that Gunn has said are inspiring this movie. If people want some literature to read before they see Superman on July 11th, the current titles out there: Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, Superman for All Seasons, Kingdom Come, All Star Superman, and Lex Luthor, Man of Steel. So we might try to like talk about some of those stories at some point, but.
Yeah, if you guys get a chance, there should still be it's like a box set called the Superman Legacy box set that has a good chunk of those books within them.
But that'll do it for today, and next time, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. So until then, as always, keep it super, y'all.